Hello, this is Lisa in Imagination Sisterhood Studio, and today I am going to show you how you can make these beautiful layered clusters without going to the store and buying stuff, with things you already have in your house. All right, let's get started. The first thing you need to talk about is a base. So what could you use for a base? This is just a plain brown paper bag. I crumpled it up. And then if you take a little ink pad, brown ink, and go over it, it's going to show up all those nice wrinkles, and that'll give you a beautiful textured, vintagey looking base. So that's one thing you could use for base. This is a dryer sheet, and this would be great to kind of start with. Let's see, what other things could you use? Just a regular piece of cardboard you could use. This is a piece of brown, what is this stuff called? Somebody help me what this is called. Anyway, you could use an old card that you've received. You could use a postcard, a piece of mail. So you can use any kind of paper that you want to be your base layer. All right, so let's just start building this. So you've got your base layer. The next thing you are going to want to do is cut something out of, have a decorative piece or a piece of print from one of your kits. I'm using DasyAvenue's recipe. I don't know, I'll put the name of this kit in the information, the details, but you're going to use it, some kind of decorative piece. So you could use this little recipe thing here. I chose to cut this out, so I'm going to use this as my decorative piece, and it's flat. So that piece has got no texture to it, but it's got a print, a pattern, a design. All right, so we've got our base layer, which is kind of stiff maybe, and got some texture to it, and then we've got our print that goes on top. Now, if you have fabric, that's a great place to put a piece of fabric. So you can do that if you've got some fabric. If you've got wrapping paper, you can use any paper with a print on it. So that's going to be your next layer. On top of that, you want something with texture. So what do I have here with texture? I have a piece of gauze that just you use as a bandage. You could use that. This is a tea bag, so this has some nice kind of filmy texture to it. I have some burlap ribbon that I think maybe came from the dollar store. Obviously that's got some great texture to it. You can see through it, which I like that. You can use a pile of threads, and these threads can be gotten from like a shirt that you decide you're throwing away. You're done with the shirt, and just rip it apart and then start pulling out some of the threads, and then you'll have this decorative piece, this textury piece. All right, and then finally you're going to have your focal point, which is going to be your button, except you don't need a button. I'm going to show you how to do it without a button. Or you could use a brad if you have brads. So I've got some of those. All right, so let's get down to building this one so you can see how it works. I have my base layer, and this is my next layer. Obviously, I don't want it this gigantic, so I'm just going to tear this. But I want to make sure it's a little bit wider. I want it to show, so I want it a little bit wider, maybe have a little different shape from my decorative paper. And that's just so you can see it. You don't want to get it so close to the shape and size that you don't see it in the background, because then that defeats the purpose of having it there. And I really don't like the fact that this is straight, so I'm going to have to rip that off really small. Okay. And then for me, I would go ahead and ink this because I really want it to stand out. I want to see all of those edges. I want to see the very defined difference between this base layer and my next layer. Now I'm using a brown ink. You can use any color ink you want. If you're not into the whole dark vintagey look, then go with green. Do a different color. But I'm going to use brown because I'm going for that vintage vibe. All right, I would like that a little darker, so let's go ahead and really get some ink on there. I really want to see this. There we go. That's looking good. Okay, so now I have, as you can see, the edges really show now. All right, so I've got my base. I'm going to put my decorative piece on top. The next thing that goes on top is our piece with texture, and I decided that I really liked this, especially because it's a kind of a farm herb cooking theme. I really like this burlap, so I'm going to use a little piece of this burlap. And I want to take a moment to talk about this burlap because you may not know that you can do this. So this is a piece of burlap. It's wired burlap ribbon. Any ribbon that comes wired, you might think, well, that's not going to work because it has the wire in it. However, you can take your clipper or a pair of scissors, if you don't mind ruining your scissors, but anyway, cut a piece off, and then I am going to cut through this with the rest of it through my scissors, but I'm not cutting through the metal because I used my clippers. So if you want to, if you don't mind, if you have a pair of crummy scissors that you use just to cut anything, then that's fine. If this was regular ribbon, I wouldn't be worrying about it quite so much. All right, so I've cut this piece off. Let's just say I'm going to use this piece. Now I'm going to hold on close to the top of one end, and I'm going to push, and that is going to force, let's see if I can get something so you can see that. It is going to force the wire that's in that edge to come off, and I'm going to pull it right out. And that came out, and now I'm going to do the other side the same way, push on it, and that wire will come out. And now this ribbon is no longer wired. Now I can do whatever I want with it. And a lot of times I'll cut this piece off of this burlap style ribbon, but it could be any ribbon that has this kind of sewn edge. And now that makes a really cool piece to put on anything. It just becomes a decorative, leftover thread, embellishment, knotty thing, whatever. I might even use that to finish this one up. All right, so that's all I wanted to say about wired thread. Okay, so I have my base, I have my decorative piece, I now have my texture piece. All right, and I'm thinking I want something kind of hanging downish. So that's usually it's usually thread, it's ribbon, it's a piece of rope. It can be, if you have a bunch of embroidery floss, you can use embroidery floss, you can use yarn, anything that you have that's you could use an old shoelace if you want. So I have a piece of burlap cord. This is actually a piece from a shirt that I had that's a cotton, and I just ripped it into little tiny shreds. So I'm going to use this because I really want something that's kind of contrasting on here. I want to see it underneath my button. So I do base, picture, texture, texture. All right. So these things give it height, give it 3D dimension. You could even use a ball of string, if a ball of threads. I might even stick that on there too. I just kind of like, I don't know. To me, clusters should look messy, so it should be a bunch of junk. The last thing you're going to do, so that you don't need buttons, is you are going to take a circle punch. If you don't have a circle punch, you can trace a circle and then cut it out. That works completely fine. And you're going to find something that you want, like on your papers. Fortunately for me, this kit comes with all of these beautiful little circles, so I just had to punch one of those out. I punched a circle the same size. I'm going to glue those together. This piece should be cardstock. It should be something heavy. So this is just a piece from a food box, like cereal or whatever. All right, so I didn't have to buy this either. I already had this in my house. And I'm going to glue my punched circle to my piece of cereal box cardboard. All right, and the last thing I'm going to do with this is going to make my button. I'm going to take my button and I'm going to you can use a thumbtack for this. I happen to have a punch, but if you don't have a punch, you could use a thumbtack. You could use, well, anything that's pointy. I can't think of things right off the bat. And I'm going to punch 2 holes in here. 1. And these holes should be probably easy. Nope, can't see that side. Probably easier to see if it was solid, but it's not. And these are going to be about 1/4 inch apart. Okay, so I have 2 nice holes about 1/4 inch apart. Don't know if you can see that. And that becomes my button. So now my button is ready. I am going to take a needle, and this happens to be embroidery floss. and I'm going to thread it through my cardboard button, and I'm going to thread it, you know what? Hold that thought. I'm going to use a little bit of glue first. I forgot the glue stage. We're going to add a little bit of glue to all of my layers just to hold them together a little bit. And that way I don't have to hold them together with my needle and thread, because that gets a little tricky. And as you can tell, I'm not being real careful where all this stuff is getting glued. I'm just sticking it on there. I do want this to have kind of a loop to it, so let me get in there and loop it around a bit. I do want that to stick up. I do want the thready stuff on here. It's all stuck to my finger now. All right, now we are ready with the needle and thread. I'm going to take our needle and thread, stick this in the middle, and you can see all of those nice layers and messiness and everything. It's wonderful. And this goes all the way through everything. Didn't go through my last layer. There we go. And I'm going to leave this tail pretty long. I'm going to say maybe 3 or 4 inches long. And then we're going to come back through the other side. And I am very lucky that went right through the hole that I made. And again, I'm going to leave that about 4 inches long. And now I'm going to tie it in a knot. And tie it in a bow. And I like my bows a little smaller on these. I like to see that it's a bow but not overwhelm the whole cluster. And there we go. You've got this beautiful cluster all out of things you already had. You've got your base layer, which was your trash bag. You've got your print from your kit. You have a piece of something, like I say, it could have been the dryer sheet, could have been a tea bag that's got texture to it, so something that has some hand to it. You have your stringy things, messy things, and then you have your cardboard button and your thread that holds it all together. So there you go, how to make a cluster with things you have around the house. I hope you enjoyed this craft, and thanks for crafting with me. This is Lisa in Imagination Sisterhood Studio.